Picture this. You are stepping off the freezing, wind-whipped streets of downtown Chicago on a really cold November evening.
Oh, I could feel the chill already.
Right. And you walk through these heavy glass doors, and the contrast just hits you immediately. Like you are suddenly standing inside the Grand Crescent Ballroom.
Which is, I mean, it's legendary for a reason.
Totally. The air is warm. It's practically glowing in there. The light from these massive crystal chandeliers is just reflecting off perfectly polished marble floors.
And you've got like a live orchestra playing softly somewhere in the background, right?
Exactly. Meanwhile, outside, the red carpet is flashing with cameras. There's this endless line of black luxury cars stretching all the way down the block.
Because this isn't just any party.
No, this is the annual Bennett Foundation Charity Gala. Every single seat has been reserved for months. We're talking governors, tech moguls, television anchors. It is the absolute elite of the elite.
It really is a masterclass in manufactured perfection,
Oh, for sure.
You have this perfectly insulated bubble of wealth and influence. And it's designed specifically to keep the unpredictability of the real world completely out.
Exactly. And that ballroom is exactly where we are taking you today. Our mission for this deep dive is to dissect this brilliant, anonymous short story that has been making the rounds lately.
It's been everywhere. And for good reason.
Yeah, it really acts as a perfect microcosm of the modern class divide. It tackles the heavy weight of cynicism and just the incredible lengths human beings will go to in order to keep hidden truths buried.
It's so layered.
It is. So we're going to break down one specific high-stakes collision at this gala and really pull out the real-world psychology behind it.
And I think it really is a fascinating piece of fiction because it operates on two distinct levels. On the surface, I mean, it's a tense drama.
Right.
But underneath that, it's this deep exploration of how we build walls, both literal and psychological ones, and what actually happens when those walls finally fail.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the story opens with a premise that immediately grabs your attention. It notes that while some people lose their families because they simply stop loving each other.
Which is tragic in its own right.
Right, but it says others lose them because someone decides the truth should never be heard. And man, that sets the stakes right out of the gate.
It really does.
We aren't just analyzing a fancy party here. We are looking at the deliberate suppression of reality. And just a quick note for you listening, whenever we explore themes like wealth and the class divide, we aren't taking any political sides.
No, absolutely not.
We're just impartially reporting on the themes the author put into the text, just pulling the ideas out for you to examine.
Exactly. We're just here to break down the narrative. And what's fascinating here is how the physical setting of this gala perfectly mirrors the emotional walls built by this story's protagonist.
The ballroom itself is doing so much heavy lifting.
Right. It's not just a lavish location. The marble, the chandeliers, the velvet ropes, the security details, they are all physical manifestations of her internal fortress.
Yes.
And to really grasp the mechanics of this story, we have to look closely at the architect of that fortress.
Right. The architect being Victoria Bennett. She is the absolute center of gravity in this room.
Without a doubt.
At 43 years old, she is one of the youngest billionaire CEOs in America. She took a struggling software company and just engineered it into a global tech empire.
Which is no small feat.
Not at all. And the narrative gives us this really stark dichotomy between her public persona and her private reality.
Oh, the contrast is huge.
Because publicly, she is flawless. Business magazines praise her discipline. Investors trust her implicitly. Her employees respect her, even though she demands these completely impossible standards.
She basically represents the ultimate archetype of modern capitalist success.
Right.
I mean, she conquered her industry through sheer force of intellect and, well, really rigid boundaries.
But internally, her reality is incredibly bleak. The text reveals that Victoria basically no longer believes unexpected kindness exists. Not without a hidden price tag, anyway.
Right, she's totally disillusioned.
Yeah, she has spent decades surrounded by people who, smile right before they ask for a massive donation, or they pretend to care about her day right before they ask for a board seat.
Which is actually a profound and very well-documented psychological burden.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah. When you look at real-world sociological studies on extreme wealth, like there's that research at UC Berkeley on wealth and empathy.
Oh, right. I've heard of that.
Yeah, you see this exact phenomenon. Reaching that level of financial dominance fundamentally alters your relationship with humanity. Every single interaction gets evaluated as a potential transaction.
Wow.
Yeah, every compliment becomes a potential Trojan horse. You just stop trusting people.
That sounds exhausting. I look at her wealth and this practice confidence the text describes, and to me, it's basically a suit of gilded armor.
That's a great way to put it.
It is shiny, it looks incredibly impressive on magazine covers, and it absolutely protects her from being used by grifters. But it also entirely isolates her from genuine human connection.
It blocks out everything.
Right. If you wear an iron suit every day, eventually you just can't feel the breeze on your skin anymore.
The armor analogy is spot on because armor is heavy,
Yeah.
It restricts your movement, it keeps the threats out, but it locks the wearer in.
Exactly.
And neurologically speaking, when someone operates in an environment where they don't actually need anyone else for their basic survival or comfort, the brain's pathways for empathy can change.
Wait, really? Like physically change?
Yeah, the pathways for reading social cues from people outside their immediate circle can literally begin to atrophy. They suffer from an empathy deficit. And it's not because they are inherently bad people, but because their brain just stops prioritizing those connections.
That is wild. But wait, I want to push back on something the text claims about her based on exactly that.
Okay, what is it?
The story says that over the years, Victoria had learned to, quote, recognize desperation long before anyone spoke.
Right, she prides herself on that.
But is she actually reading the room with this hyper-vigilant laser precision? Or is she just projecting her own trauma and cynicism onto everyone she meets? I mean, if you expect everyone to be a parasite, aren't you just going to see parasites everywhere, regardless of reality?
That is the defining blind spot of the hypervigilant. You've nailed it. She believes her cynicism is a superpower.
Exactly.
She thinks it's this finely tuned radar keeping her safe. But psychological trauma and the isolation of extreme wealth is definitely a form of social trauma. It doesn't usually sharpen your vision. It narrows it.
It puts blinders on you.
Yes, it creates extreme confirmation bias.
Right, so she only sees what confirms her worldview.
Exactly. And we see this manifested literally when her head of security quietly approaches her at the gala.
Oh, the scene is so good.
Because that security guard is not just a guy with an earpiece, right? He is the physical embodiment of her psychological boundaries. He operates like a real-life pop-up blocker.
A pop-up blocker, that is so true.
Right. He exists to filter out the messy, unpredictable world so she never has to process it.
So she is standing there, perfectly insulated by her wealth, her armor, and her literal pop-up blockers.
Totally secure.
And because she is so heavily fortified, it takes someone completely oblivious to her social currency to actually disrupt her reality. Which brings us to the entrance of the ballroom and a man named Ethan Carter.
The visual contrast the author creates here is just striking.
Yeah.
And it serves a very specific purpose.
It's so cinematic. You have tailored tuxedos, designer gowns, diamond watches reflecting the chandeliers, and then standing just beyond the entrance is Ethan.
Right?
He is holding a weathered manila envelope against his chest. He's wearing a brown work jacket that the text notes was cleaned carefully that morning. But years of honest labor have permanently faded the fabric.
You can't wash that kind of wear out.
No, you can't. And his boots still carry the traces of drywall dust, despite him trying to polish them.
He is dragging the dust of the actual physical working-class world right into this pristine, sterilized marble bubble.
And he completely ignores the wealth around him. He doesn't care about the governors or the flashing cameras. To use another analogy, he is like a ghost walking through a bank vault.
Oh, like that.
The gold bars just don't mean anything to a ghost. He is completely immune to the intimidation tactics of her billionaire status.
Because he's operating on a totally different level.
Exactly. His only goal is to ask for 5 minutes to place that envelope into Victoria's hands, and then he plans to quietly walk away forever. He wants no money. He wants no recognition. He just wants to deliver a truth that should have been heard years ago.
His physical presentation is deeply connected to his moral grounding here. The faded jacket, the drywall dust, the fact that he has been nervously rehearsing this moment in his car.
Yeah, that detail was so relatable.
Right. These are not the markers of a grifter looking for a payday. They are the markers of a man burdened by an immense sense of duty.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because I have to ask, is it truly possible for a human being to want absolutely nothing in return?
Well, it's rare.
Right. The text is adamant that he doesn't want money. But isn't the act of tracking down a billionaire, infiltrating her charity gala, and forcing her to face a buried truth? I mean, isn't that its own kind of aggressive demand?
That's a valid point.
He is demanding her attention. He is forcing a reckoning.
That is a very sharp distinction to make. You are right, he is making a demand, but it isn't a transactional one. It's an emotional and moral one.
Okay, yeah.
Think about the psychology of whistleblowers in the real world. Research shows that people who hold on to massive institutional or personal secrets often experience what psychologists call moral injury.
Moral injury. Wow.
Yeah. The secret literally weighs them down. Studies have even shown that people harboring heavy secrets perceive hills as physically steeper, and they view physical tasks as harder.
That is wild. It literally changes their physical perception of the world.
Exactly. So Ethan isn't asking for money because he's there to relieve his own moral injury. He is stripping away Victoria's agency to remain deliberately ignorant.
He's handing her the weight.
Precisely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Ethan represents the inevitable return of the past.
You can't outrun it.
No, you can't. Victoria has used her immense resources to build a fortress against the world. But Ethan proves that while money can easily keep out physical threats, it cannot keep out history.
Which sets up this incredible slow-motion collision. You have two unstoppable forces, Victoria's deeply entrenched cynicism and Ethan's quiet, desperate need to deliver this truth.
And it all plays out so quietly.
That's the wild part. The tension peaks because we get to watch exactly how these two worlds fail to communicate. They never actually speak to each other.
Not once.
The entire interaction is mediated by the cold protocol of security.
It is a brilliant illustration of how institutional power operates. The highest levels of power rarely operate through shouting or physical violence. They operate through bureaucracy. They operate through distance.
It's like a human algorithm. The security guard approaches Victoria and runs through a literal checklist.
A literal check?
Right. He tells her there's a gentleman at the door requesting 5 minutes, but he has no invitation. And Victoria doesn't even break eye contact with the VIP she's talking to. The algorithm just begins. Does he represent an organization? No.
Right.
Is he on the donor list? No. Does he have an appointment? No.
3 strikes. He doesn't possess the required data points to exist in her reality.
If you don't check the specific boxes of the elite, you are functionally invisible. Victoria sighs, and the text says almost imperceptibly, and she orders him escorted out.
And the way she does it.
Yeah, she adds with respect, which honestly feels worse.
Oh, it is so much worse.
It's the polite dismissal of someone who isn't even worth her anger. It's pure algorithmic rejection.
And it highlights the tragic irony of her earlier assumption. She prides herself on recognizing desperation.
Right, her supposed superpower.
Exactly. Because of that hubris, she assumes Ethan is just another beggar arriving to ask for a handout. By refusing to look past her security checklist, she is actively choosing blindness.
It's deliberate.
It is. And this happens in corporate structures all the time. Executives build these algorithmic filters to avoid decision fatigue, but the result is information blindness. They become totally insulated from critical ground-level truths because the messenger just doesn't have the right title.
And the algorithm plays out on Ethan's side, too. The security officers approach him and politely explain the event is private. But now wait, wasn't Ethan just being too polite here?
What do you mean?
Well, if he had sprinted past security, if he had started screaming the contents of that envelope in front of the local news cameras, the truth would have gotten out. By playing by their polite, bureaucratic rules, didn't he defeat himself?
You're thinking like a tactician, but you're missing his core motivation.
Am I?
Yeah, he isn't there for a spectacle. He is there for a personal reckoning. It's a painful paradox, honestly. His dignity is what makes his mission noble, but his dignity is exactly what makes him so easily dismissible. By a system designed to quietly remove polite anomalies.
Oh, I see.
If he screams, he's a crazy person who gets tackled and arrested.
Yeah.
And the envelope just goes into an evidence locker somewhere. By remaining polite, he accepts the reality of the wall she has built.
Wow. So he just closes his eyes, accepts the answer via radio, and turns to leave. The system worked exactly as it was designed to. It filtered out the anomaly without a drop of spilled champagne.
It really did.
From a narrative standpoint, the adult world of cynical protocols entirely failed to bridge the gap between them.
The protocols won. And when institutional protocols become that rigid, you cannot reason with the algorithm. You have to bypass it entirely.
Which means the story requires an uncontrollable, pure element to shatter that status quo.
Yes.
As Ethan is gripping that weathered envelope, turning toward the revolving doors in defeat, a small voice echoes from the sweeping staircase above the ballroom.
This part gives me chills.
The text says every conversation stops. Every camera turns. 7-year-old Lily Bennett is standing frozen on the stairs. She is staring directly at the stranger with the drywall dust on his boots.
It's such a powerful image.
Her breathing becomes uneven, and she whispers, almost to herself, "I know that face."
It is a stunning pin-drop climax to the scene.
So, what does this all mean? We have millions of dollars of security, we have PR teams, we have the most sophisticated social filters on the planet, all designed to keep people like Ethan out.
And they all worked perfectly.
Right, they all fail to truly see him as a person. But a 7-year-old girl looks down from a staircase, and her eyes cut right through the class divide. She doesn't see a faded jacket. She doesn't care about a donor list.
She just sees the truth. Victoria built this massive global empire, ostensibly to protect her family and filter out the dangers of the world. Yet the very person she is trying to protect is the one who unlocks the door to the hidden truth.
The fortress failed from the inside.
Exactly.
But let's look at the mechanics of this, because how is it possible that a 7-year-old child recognizes a dusty blue-collar worker from a past that logically predates her own existence?
It's the big mystery.
Is she remembering a photograph hidden in a drawer? Does Ethan share some striking genetic resemblance to someone she knows intimately? The text deliberately leaves us hanging on that whisper.
And the ambiguity is the point. We aren't supposed to know the exact genealogical or historical connection yet, but the thematic weight is undeniable.
For sure.
This raises an important question regarding how innocence functions in a highly cynical world. If you look at developmental psychology, a 7-year-old brain does not process reality the way a 43-year-old CEO's brain does.
Thank goodness for that.
Right. Adults use schemas, which are basically mental shortcuts, to process a room. Victoria sees a brown jacket, and her brain's schema immediately says, working class, threat, beggar, ignore.
She categorizes him before she even really looks at him.
Exactly. But children haven't fully formed those cynical schemas yet. They don't process social hierarchy or tax brackets. They process facial recognition and basic emotion.
They just see people.
Yes. Lily's unfiltered perception is the direct antidote to her mother's hyper-filtered reality. She actually looks at the human being.
That is incredible. Victoria has spent her entire adult life training herself not to look, not to trust, not to engage. Her brain is practically hardwired to ignore people like Ethan.
Completely hardwired.
And it took her young daughter, who hasn't yet learned how to be cynical, to force her to see what was standing right in front of her.
It suggests that truth has a certain undeniable gravity to it. You can bury it under imported marble floors. You can drown it out with a live string quartet. You can surround it with an army of private security.
But it gets out.
It will eventually pull everything back toward itself.
That is a heavy realization. We started this deep dive in an opulent, perfectly controlled environment. The warm lights, the red carpet, the absolute pinnacle of elite society.
The bubble.
Yeah, the bubble. And we watched that entire perfectly constructed reality get completely subverted by the quiet dignity of a man with drywall dust on his boots.
A man who asked for nothing but 5 minutes.
Right. And it all culminated in that shattering, innocent recognition from a little girl on a staircase. It is a powerful reminder that truth, no matter how deeply buried or heavily guarded, always finds a way to leak through the cracks in the foundation.
And as we step away from the Grand Crescent Ballroom today, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Let's return to those opening lines about losing families because someone decides the truth should never be heard.
Oh yeah, the stakes.
You think about the dynamics we just explored. If 7-year-old Lily can recognize a ghost from the past, while her incredibly successful, hypervigilant mother refuses to even look at him, what does that tell us about our own defensive walls?
That's a great question.
Consider how the armor you build to protect yourself from being hurt or used or manipulated might actually be blocking out the exact truths you desperately need to heal. We spend so much energy fortifying our lives and building our own little security checklists, only to leave it up to the most vulnerable, innocent parts of ourselves to finally recognize reality when it walks through the door.
Man, that is definitely something to chew on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We love taking these complex narratives and breaking them open to pull out the psychology behind them just for you. Keep questioning the armor you wear, and keep an eye out for the truth, even when it's covered in a little drywall dust. Until next time.